This will be anonymous. I'm amazed that Michael, like others, managed grad school with a toddler. I can barely make myself oatmeal every day. And lastly, before we invite Michael to the podium, Michael Harold in one sentence is the toughest thing to do on this planet. It's pretty tough. A great father, a faithful husband, a funny human being, a highly reliable professional, a trustworthy friend, and a very down-to-earth individual. That's Michael Harold for me. Please welcome Michael to the podium.
Thank you. I think that was the most nice things anyone's ever said about me. Thank you, guys. And it's true, I have to start off by admitting that in voting for me, my fellow Januarians made it very clear that they weren't actually voting for me. They were voting for my adorable 2.5-year-old daughter, Isla. And I don't blame them, so I will try and keep this maybe just a little bit longer than her attention span. And I have to say what an honor it is to have Dean Minow here with us this afternoon. I think the world would be a much better place if we took to heart Dean Minow's writings and teachings, but also her actions. She doesn't just walk the walk, she blazed the trail for a generation of young hopefuls to reshape our laws, to question power imbalance in the process, practice, and parlors of law, to challenge legal frameworks that allied or disadvantage other genders, races, ethnicities, or cultures, and to shine a light on civil procedures that would rather lock people up than find mutual understanding between parties to resolve differences. The challenges we face today are as tremendous as they are complex, and we need people like Dean Minow who have both the capacity and vigor to deal with these complex challenges, but also the compassionate disposition to help others. Often, our laws are the most tangible manifestations of our policies, and we need them to reflect the chorus of perspective and scholarships so that everyone, not a lucky few, stand to benefit. Thank you, Dean Minow. And I feel very safe in saying that none of the Januarian class are the same people today that they were when we first started 2 bitterly cold Januaries ago. And I, for one, feel more prepared than ever to seize today and change tomorrow. A great deal of that comes from the classroom, but as W.E.B. Du Bois said, children learn more from what we are than what we teach. And those words mean more today, or just as much today, as they did then, as we look hopefully through the Hall of Flags and with trepidation down Pennsylvania Avenue. But let's keep our thoughts for a moment in these halls of flags and reflect on the amazing teachers that inhabit them. Our Fletcher teachers are on the front lines. They roll up their sleeves, they dive into the trenches, and they come back to share with us not just things that they read in a book or in an academic journal, but things that they experienced firsthand. And for that, we are eternally grateful. They have had front row seats to history in the making, held positions of great power and influence, but used them not as their own platforms for self-promotion, but as a base from which to pull others up with them who are also willing to challenge norms and think differently. They share with us every semester great knowledge and also give me my greatest sense of FOMO that I've ever had as I try every semester to choose just 4 classes and fear all of the others that I'll be missing out on. The compassion they've shown us, the mentorship, the entirely accessible and genuine peer-to-peer relationship, despite some of us being students and the others learned teachers, are among the greatest lessons I have learned and that I will take with me as I prepare to leave Fletcher. And in turn, I believe the richness in faculty stems from all of you, from all of us, the students. Because again, Du Bois reminds us that we are People learn more from what we are than what we teach. Over 40% of our student body come from countries outside the United States. From 70 different countries, we have alumni who live and work in 140 different countries. What we are, Fletcher, is an international school, a diverse bunch, the committed few, those who know how to turn good intentions into radical outcomes, the few who choose to step behind the spotlight so that they may direct its beam to drive out darkness instead of step in front in the comforting luminescence for ourselves, the ones who know that in the struggle for equity and justice, some of us can do more by checking ourselves before checking in to the fight, and a cohort of healthy skeptics unafraid to rap on the doors of our ivory towers, asking questions, seeking change. When I look out in this room, I see examples of every single one of those things, Fletcher, and I am grateful for it. We all have our own unique experiences while here. Mine has been not just as a student, but also as a father and as a husband. But I think we all share the common thread that we did not and could not have done this alone. The Januarians thank all of our friends, all of our family, all of our loved ones for everything that you have done for us over the last 2 years. We know deeply that this is a sacrifice sometimes greater for you than this opportunity has been for us. So let's just take a moment and thank everyone. As a parent-student, my unique experience meant that gatherings in the Hall of Flags on a Thursday evening wasn't a reminder of a looming social hour, but rather that it was time to jump on my bike and head home so that I could be there for story time and bath time. And I'm not going to lie, grad school was a lot more work than I think maybe any of us anticipated. But one of the amazing things about being a student at Fletcher is that I had the flexibility in my schedule and the opportunity to choose where I wanted to be and when. And again, one of the things that I'm most grateful for and wasn't expecting at all when I thought about all of the things that I would learn about while here at the Fletcher School is how to become a more thoughtful parent, a partner, and gaining the knowledge that I needed to confront the gender norms tied to those roles. Again, Du Bois reminds us children learn more from what we are than what we teach. And Judith Butler makes the critical link by saying, gender is performative. Because for something to be performative means that it produces a series of effects. We act, we walk, we talk, we speak, that consolidate an impression of being a woman or being a man. As we prepare to leave Fletcher, I hope that the wisdom Butler and my peers have shared with all of us can help us challenge performative gender norms as we enter the workplace and strive for greater work-life-family balance. And look for employees who treat their employees with respect for their decisions and irregardless of gender. And now more than ever, we need institutions like ours and the people it produces to confront these strange and even dangerous times, because you, mighty few, have a mighty lot on your plate. And indeed, the future looms large. And back to the point that Dean Minow was making, it is incumbent upon us to question everything. How did it come to pass that in the year 2015, the wealthiest 1% in the world had more wealth than everyone else combined? How could it possibly be that at our current rate of progress, it will take 170 years to close the gender wage pay gap? How could it be that in America, the richest 1% captures 60% of all economic growth? That economic inequality is equal today in America at the time of the Great Depression? How could it be that racial economic inequality is worse today than it was at the time of the Civil Rights Movement? How could it be when there are more forcibly displaced persons in the world, more refugees than at any other time in our history, America has lowered its refugee camp to its lowest levels in our history? How could it be, colleagues, that just as we have been able to pull the cotton from our collective ears so that we hear the voices and believe in the stories of Me Too victims, we have a violator-in-chief, a VOTUS as POTUS, and a Secretary of Education whose leading change so far has been to make it more difficult for students on campus to report and be believed with regard to sexual harassment and abuse. In these difficult times, what does it mean to be an ally? How do we facilitate the space, turn down the din, and give the belligerently othered people in our community who have been spoken over the opportunity to raise their voice, to speak out, to add nuance to the black and white narratives framed in fear? Question everything, because Fletcher has given us the tools, the family, the power we need to not only develop answers, but identify solutions and implement them. And I didn't intend this to be a political or a partisan speech. I intended it to be an appeal to basic humanity at a time when some of our highest leaders seemed to value it least. As the literary luminary and civil rights activist James Baldwin said, "It is certain, in any case, that ignorance, allied with power, is the most ferocious enemy justice can have." Indeed. But he also hinted at the answer. He said, "I imagine the reason people cling to their hates so stubbornly is because they sense, once they are gone, all they will have left is their pain." Fletcher, we must be strong enough to confront the hate, but compassionate enough to heal the pain. And no matter whether or how you believe we might come and go from this earth, we only get one shot to plant our feet in this set of shoes on this earth at this moment. So we cannot afford to sit idly by as people attempt to place out of reach anyone's opportunity to live this life as a happy, healthy, and prosperous one. And when I feel a little paralyzed by the challenges at hand, I find it helpful to place myself and our shared problems in a broader context. By reflecting on the words of our wonderful poet laureate, Tracy K. Smith, she writes in her poem, "May God It's Full of Stars." "Perhaps the greatest error is believing we're alone, that the others have come and gone, a momentary blip, when all along space might be chock full of traffic bursting at the seams with energy, and we neither feel nor see, flush against us, living, dying, deciding, setting solid feet down on planets everywhere, bowing to the great stars that command, pitching stones at whatever their moons. They live wondering, as if they were the only ones, knowing only the wish to know, and the great black distance that we, flicker in." Smith reminds us that the universe is indeed vast. Let us help others to stop their fighting, even if it's just long enough to look up and see the great black distance that we, flicker in. Fletcher, we're ready. You were already willing. You were already on the front lines. Now your shoulders are just a little bit broader. Your chin's just a little bit higher. Yourself, head, body, and heart, now even more prepared to take on some of that heavy load. Well, we all may be walking out of these doors for one of the last times. That doesn't mean this is over. Unfortunately for all of you, you will still be stuck with me, and I feel incredibly lucky knowing this, and that the Fletcher Mafia is anywhere there are difficult problems that need solving. And now there is wonderful. Let's get after it, Fletch. Let's get after it like Dean Minow, like all of our amazing professors, and go blaze some more trails. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for an incredible and an inspiring speech and address.